Hey everybody, Mo Rahim here, and today we're talking about results of a national survey on substance use among adults, a couple of government policy updates in Alabama and Virginia, 2 properties purchased by GTI, and some other things. Welcome to MaryJane Markets, a show covering the developing news of the North American cannabis sector and analyzing a few of its operators: Cresco Labs, Curaleaf, Green Thumb Industries, and TrueLeaf. Let's quickly look at how the market fared. As you can see, it was pretty mixed results and a fair bit of volatility today. Some operators finished a little down, others flat, while Cresco Labs, being the notable exception, was up 2% on the day. The S&P and the Nasdaq seesawed as well and closed about flat. First and only piece of news on the sector broadly I have for you today are the results of a recent national survey on drug use conducted by the National Institute of Health. You can see the headline here from Forbes. Some of you may remember that we talked about this survey in the very first episode when trying to estimate the market size, but those were the results of a younger demographic. On September 8th, the National Institute of Health's National Institute on Drug Abuse released this book, you might call it. This is volume 2, looking at adults aged 19 to 60. 532 pages of very detailed content. I skimmed the highlights, but this is out there for those of you that want to wade into the deep end. We're just going to look at some key findings that were highlighted in the press release. As you can see from the headlines, the highlights are that cannabis use is at an all-time high among college-aged students. That's 19 to 22-year-olds. Don't get confused here. They surveyed kids both in college and not in college. Jumping down, I just want to touch on a few key points here. Under use here, they say annual marijuana use has continued to increase over the past 5 years for college students, reaching the highest level in over 3.5 decades in 2020, with 44% reporting using marijuana in the last year compared to 38% in 2015. And among 19 to 22-year-olds not in college, use remained the same at 43%. They also asked about daily usage. About 8% of college students checking that box for 2020 compared to 5% just 5 years ago. And then they go on to highlight some other substances as well: vaping, hallucinogens, alcohol use, which has come down with 56% of students reporting alcohol consumption in the last 30 days compared to 62% in 2019. But 2022 was kind of a weird year. And they also looked at other things like cigarettes, amphetamines, opioid use. Feel free to pause to read any of this. A simple Google search of some of these keywords will direct you to this news release. If you've listened to this show before, you know I'm not a big fan of surveys like this. I don't think people are completely honest when asked about these topics, and sharp increases in affirmative answers, I think, and I've seen others in the field express this opinion as well, are from the substance losing its stigma and, on the margin, people being more comfortable answering these questions. All right, moving on to government policy updates. I saw some more news on Alabama over the weekend. Last we talked about the state, there was a stall in the licenses. The state had legalized medicinal use this year, 2021, and the commission was set to, and given the nod by the legislature, to start awarding those licenses this month, September. But something happened in the last couple of months. There was some miscommunication, or the state legislature didn't think that the commission was going to be ready in time and delayed that process by a whole year. So growers would have to wait until September of 2022 to get those licenses and be able to start planting, which means product likely wouldn't hit shelves in Alabama until 2023. Well, now the commission is getting a little vocal on this. They are telling AL.com here that they are discussing with lawmakers about changing that date to sometime in early 2022, which is good. If they can start planting and harvest in 2022, that means patients get their medicine faster, and Alabama, the 24th largest market in the nation, possibly a $1.7 billion market, will start coming to life. They seem to have a lot of support behind them, And if they're ready to go and just waiting on paperwork, there's no good reason that should be delayed, in my opinion. Another state making progress with their medicinal program this weekend is Virginia, where starting September 1st, dispensaries could legally start selling flower, even though medicinal use has been legal since August of 2020 and recreational was legalized this summer in July. So they're starting a little slow, kind of like Florida's medical program, if you guys remember that, but the wind's obviously changing quicker in Virginia. So this is encouraging progress in the state, which is the 13th largest market in the nation and a cannabis market that could be $4 billion in size. Shifting over to company-specific news, I have a couple of items on GTI for you today. First is a complex in Massachusetts that they purchased on September 1st, but wasn't announced until recently in the last week. We spoke a couple of episodes ago about GTI expanding in Massachusetts through an acquisition of 2 storefronts. Well, this is their back-end strategy here. They paid $4.5 million for a 326,000 square foot property where they'll expand out to 100,000 square foot of grow space under their state license. The rest presumably going to packaging, office space, storage, etc., and maybe even looking down the road to more grow space one day if the law changes. Like we talked about, I think it was last Wednesday, Massachusetts is the 11th largest market in the nation, possibly a $4 billion cannabis market, and it's a good move to expand quickly in the state as GTI and its competitors are doing. Lastly, for GTI, Massachusetts isn't the only place they're buying land. Last month, they also purchased 38 acres in Warwick, New York, where they plan to build a 450,000 square foot production facility estimated to cost $155 million. Absolutely massive, but necessary. So this past week, they broke ground on that site for phase 1 of their construction plan. That's expected to take a year and be 200,000 square foot in size, and then over a second and third phase in the future, they'll add the remaining 250,000 square feet. We've talked about the delay in the recreational program in New York multiple times now, but GTI is forging ahead and executing on their plan. They are one of the 10 original companies to have a medicinal license in the state. But a facility of this size is GTI looking forward to a very large recreational market. Alright, I have one more segment for the show, but first let me just wrap some things up. If you are liking the show or think that there are things I could be doing better, please leave feedback in the comments. If you want to reach me, my Twitter is @MJ_Markets. If you want to support the channel, I'm not sure that YouTube is going to monetize the content because of the topic. My Patreon is patreon.com/MaryJane Markets. All right, for the final segment, something I'm calling Things Happen. Just rapid fire go through these since there's not much to say about them. Curaleaf unveiled a new product. It looks to be a live resin concentrate using this hydrocarbon extraction. I think it's a good move. Vapes are super popular. The margins are great, and this is just Curaleaf getting in on a piece of that. There are also some recent interviews I wanted to bring to your attention. Check these out if you're interested. Sometimes it can be good to see where management's focus is, and if you're a new investor, they can be kind of a good introduction to the company. This one here is from Daniel Pronk's channel, where he interviews Curaleaf CEO Kim Rivers. This is the first time I've come across Daniel's YouTube. Looks like he's got an investing channel. I'll link this below. Otherwise, there are a few fireside chats from a Beacon Securities conference that took place last week. This page is on Curaleaf's investor relations website. They've got a link here. You just have to enter in some basic information before you can listen to it. But if you just Google for this conference, you'll see others here. Some of these other companies we don't cover on this channel, but you might be interested in. It's also Curaleaf one here. All right, thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys again later this week.